A sudden escalation in the Middle East has pushed U.S.-Iran tensions to a dangerous new level, with both sides exchanging strikes overnight and the ceasefire under strain. What happens next may determine whether this remains a short-lived flare-up or becomes the opening phase of a broader conflict. Looking ahead, the immediate concern is whether the U.S. and Iran will engage further or if this round of retaliation will suffice. Recent clashes have escalated due to a series of provocations, including drone strikes and missile attacks, which have heightened tensions in an already volatile region. The historical context reveals that U.S.-Iran relations have been fraught with hostility since the 1979 Iranian Revolution, with numerous incidents contributing to a cycle of retaliation. If the ceasefire manages to hold, diplomatic efforts may emerge to de-escalate tensions and prevent further conflict. However, if the ceasefire collapses, we could witness additional strikes, emergency diplomatic initiatives, and increased risks to both U.S. personnel and Iranian assets. The impact of these developments extends beyond military concerns. Global oil markets, already sensitive to Middle Eastern instability, could face significant disruptions, leading to increased prices at the pump for consumers worldwide. Furthermore, regional allies may be drawn into the conflict, complicating the geopolitical landscape. Experts warn that the next 24 to 72 hours are critical in determining the trajectory of this confrontation. Governments and markets will be closely monitoring developments for signs of escalation or resolution. A failure to establish a lasting ceasefire could set off a chain reaction, prompting retaliatory strikes that may spiral beyond control. As tensions mount, a provocative question arises. Will this conflict lead to a broader war in the region, or can diplomacy prevail once more? The stakes are incredibly high, with potential ramifications for global security and economic stability. In the coming days, the focus will shift to diplomatic channels, as both sides may seek to avert a full-blown crisis while weighing the costs of continued aggression. The next steps taken by both nations will be crucial in shaping the future of U.S.-Iran relations. The recent escalation between the U.S. and Iran marks a critical juncture in a long-standing conflict. Overnight exchanges of missile strikes signal a breakdown of previously established norms of restraint. This crisis is rooted in years of rising tensions, particularly following the U.S. withdrawal from the Iran nuclear agreement in 2018. The withdrawal prompted severe sanctions aimed at crippling Iran's economy, which in turn fueled its military posturing and ambitions in the region. Proxy conflicts across the Middle East, especially in Syria and Yemen, have deepened these divisions, with both nations accusing each other of aggressive destabilization efforts. Key events, such as the assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani in early 2020, have only intensified mutual animosities and hardened positions. The implications of this escalating conflict are profound, not only for U.S.-Iran relations, but also for broader regional stability. Each side perceives its military actions as necessary deterrents, creating a volatile cycle where miscalculations could lead to a larger confrontation. The ongoing military exchanges jeopardize diplomatic efforts and could potentially disrupt global oil markets, given the strategic significance of the region. Furthermore, allies in the Middle East are reassessing their strategies, which could lead to new alignments and further complicate the geopolitical landscape. Looking ahead, the situation remains precarious. The potential for a wider conflict looms large, with both nations entrenched in their positions and unwilling to back down. The coming weeks will be critical as diplomatic channels are tested. A renewed push for dialogue may be necessary to prevent an escalation that could engulf the region in turmoil. The urgency for a comprehensive approach to de-escalation and reconciliation cannot be overstated, as the stakes continue to rise for all involved. The significance of this exchange between the U.S. and Iran cannot be overstated. Recent direct strikes mark a departure from the long-standing pattern of indirect proxy conflicts that have characterized their relationship. This escalation raises the stakes significantly, as both nations may now feel compelled to respond to any further actions, potentially leading to a rapid cycle of retaliation. The term shaky ceasefire serves as a critical warning. It implies that even limited exchanges of fire can fracture the temporary peace and escalate into more extensive hostilities. Historically, the US and Iran have navigated a fraught relationship marked by decades of tension, particularly since the 1979 Iranian Revolution. The emergence of proxy conflicts in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen has often masked the potential for direct confrontation. However, the recent escalation signifies a shift that could fundamentally alter the geopolitical landscape. The consequences of sustained escalation could ripple across global economic and security frameworks, impacting not just the Middle East, but also international relations as a whole. Oil prices, which have already been volatile due to previous tensions in the region, could see further spikes if shipping security in the Gulf is compromised. This could lead to increased costs for consumers worldwide, affecting everything from transportation to heating. Furthermore, U.S. allies in the region, including Israel and Saudi Arabia, may find themselves drawn into the conflict, complicating an already tense situation. The potential for a wider regional war could destabilize not only the Middle East, but also challenge global alliances and trade agreements. The average person should care about this development as it threatens regional stability and has the potential to influence global energy markets. The interconnected nature of today's economies means that a conflict in the Gulf could reverberate far beyond its borders, impacting jobs and prices worldwide. Looking ahead, the international community must navigate this precarious situation with caution. Diplomatic efforts will be essential to restore a semblance of order and prevent further escalation. The coming weeks will be critical in determining whether a path toward de-escalation can be achieved or if tensions will spiral further out of control. In the early hours of June 7, 2026, an alarming exchange of strikes occurred between U.S. forces and Iranian military assets. Reports indicate that at approximately 2 a.m. local time, U.S. drones launched precision strikes targeting Iranian missile facilities in southern Iraq, a location known for housing Iranian-supported militias. In retaliation, Iran fired missiles around 3:30 a.m., striking U.S. bases in northeastern Syria. This marks one of the most direct confrontations between the two nations in recent years, raising the stakes significantly. The sudden escalation is particularly shocking, as both sides had been operating under a fragile ceasefire, negotiated amid increasing tensions over maritime security and regional influence. This ceasefire, which had held for several weeks, now appears to be on the brink of collapse, raising concerns that the situation could spiral out of control. The recent strikes represent a significant shift in hostilities, moving from indirect confrontations through proxies to direct military engagement. This change could signal a new phase in U.S.-Iran relations, previously marked by back-channel negotiations and diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions. The implications of this escalation are profound. Analysts fear that if both nations remain entrenched in their positions, the conflict could widen, drawing in regional allies and further destabilizing the Middle East. The U.S. military presence in the region is already under strain, and this incident could provoke a reevaluation of American strategy in the face of Iranian aggression. Moreover, the economic repercussions could also be severe. Oil prices, which have remained volatile due to geopolitical tensions, are likely to spike as investors react to the increased risk of conflict. Additionally, this confrontation may embolden hardliners on both sides, complicating future negotiations and peace efforts. Looking ahead, the immediate outlook appears precarious. Both nations must navigate a complex landscape of national pride, regional alliances, and international scrutiny. As diplomatic channels become increasingly strained, the potential for further military escalation looms large. Urgent dialogue is essential to de-escalate tensions and avoid a broader conflict that could engulf the region, potentially reshaping the geopolitical landscape for years to come. As tensions escalate between the U.S. and Iran, will this conflict lead to a broader war in the region, or can diplomacy prevail once more? Share your predictions in the comments and subscribe for daily deep dives.